Hey, welcome to Keeping It Real with Kevin Keep, the podcast where we dive into what it's like to build businesses, raise families, and follow Jesus in a world that really makes time for all three. I'm sitting here with my good friend Kevin. How are you this week, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. It's been a good one. We were sharing a few seconds before this with you guys, just the things that happened. I went to the Brandon Lake concert, and man, it was just epic. It was just awesome. Um, you know, I don't even know, 10,000 plus people at a concert worshiping God. I mean, it was cool. I mean, it
That's
was
awesome.
an intimate worship service, not a concert, man. It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool to
So.
hear about your interactions with some of the people standing around you and just how much it filled your cup and Hatcher it's pretty cool. I'm glad you got a chance to see that this week.
Yeah, man, it's we're first time in like ever, I think, in my life I've been in the pit. The pit is the very front of the concert. I feel like that's the place the teenage girls are at, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was to be honest with you, when I went, I was a last minute deal. I forgot to buy the tickets. I really wanted to go. And I'll be transparent. I was trying to take my ex and trying to get her to go because I figured it would be amazing for her to see this, Brandon Lake and stuff. And she actually was going to go and all that stuff. And then, at the last minute, I was talking to her one way. She goes, well, I don't think I'm going to go. I really don't know the music. I don't want to stand in the pit. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So Hatcher and I went, and, Hatcher's 6'6", and, I'm just short of 6'3". And it's just, you stand out like a sore thumb in the pit, man. I mean, like, we are huge compared to every 5-foot mom and teenage girl. And, so we got there early. We're right in the front. So we're having to step back and let people walk in front of us. And it was funny, everybody's calling, hey, are you guys in the pit? Hey, are you here? It
That's
was,
awesome.
it was a good time. So I
I'm
can't
impressed,
complain.
man. The last time I stood for a concert, it was probably like 3.5 hours, and my back was so like I was just exhausted, like just wiped from which I don't know why, but
Well, it
that's a
is. I mean, you're standing on your feet.
yeah.
Funny, we were there the concert started. We got in the concert hall at 6:30. We didn't get out of there till 10:55. So we
Wow.
stood that whole time. But I think the difference is we were in worship. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It was really a worship service. And so I just think that God just gave you that extra energy to stand there and not be that way, not be wore out. I mean,
Yeah.
heck, I didn't get to bed till 1 in the morning, and it's what now, 6. You know what I mean? So yeah, I only
That's
sleep 4 or 5 hours a day, anyways. What the heck?
yeah, it's a different experience. You're right though, because this was a rock concert that I went to, and I was just exhausted. And yeah, I think when you're showing up differently, it's a different energy. It's a different experience all the way around. So I had an opportunity to talk to a really good buddy of mine this morning, and I wanted to bring this up to you. So
Hmm.
this guy's a stud, man. He is working overtime. He's got a little girl, a wife. He's like a very present, dedicated father and husband, and he's working really hard, and he's getting his master's degree on top of all that.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
dude, he's just a stud. And so he's got kind of some weird work hours. So I kind of try to get up early to talk to him before he goes to work. And he's such a big encourager for me. And so we were talking this morning and he was just saying, like, he's like, dude, I'm so honored to be in a position to provide for my family. And I'm not complaining by any means, but he's like, I heard this guy say on this podcast recently, like, I wish our wives would just see all the thoughts that run through our head on a daily basis. Cause sometimes I feel like we come off kind of not simple minded, but we definitely don't talk as much. And so it comes off like we're not thinking about as much. But really, I think a lot of us as men, providers, husbands, whatever, we are constantly in overdrive thinking about every single scenario. I want you to touch on that and let's unpack that today because I think a lot of guys relate to that.
100%, Daniel. It couldn't be more clear, especially in today's world. Everything we do comes off as toxic or selfish or all of these things. And I think, man, I think about what it would look like if you got in our heads and actually saw everything we processed. I mean, so your wife tells you something, and you take it and you're like, oh, okay. Well, then now it goes into this bank and it goes into this whole conveyor belt of processing. I mean, well, what if this happens? What if this goes? And what are here? And what about this? And what of that? And if we do this and we go here and the money's going to be here, but what of it? What are we going to sacrifice to get here? I mean, I'm an overthinker, 100%. You know, I might not come out and say it in the beginning, but I have thought about everything that can fail in that thing before I ever come up with a solution of how I'm going to deal with it. You know, so your wife asks, you know, like, hey, things are tight. What are we going to do for money? Are we going to be able to afford this trip? Whatever this thing is that you're discussing. Well, I mean, it goes through my head. Okay, well, if we sacrifice here and we go here, we do this and we cut back here on the food here, and we, you know, we don't have to do this. We can't, I don't drive here. I mean, you just process everything in your mind and, you know, of how that outcome's going to be. And then you come up with your decision, you know, and I think that's why it takes us some time to react to some of those questions. Girls have probably thought about it before they ask the question. We think about it afterwards, you know, and
I relate to this because there's so many times when my wife will be like driving or something and she'll be like, what's wrong? Like I haven't said a word and she'll just read my face and she'll be like, where are you? Like I can tell you're, you know, and I'm thinking about the next 3 months. I'm thinking about, you know, like I'm putting our budget, you know, our money together. I'm putting things that have to come together, right, for business, you know, whatever. And I'm always thinking about that stuff. It's like it's nonstop. And so she will actually like interrupt me and try to get in there and like open up dialogue. But it's weird because like I feel like it's such a good thing to do, to be thinking and planning and preparing, right? It's a noble thing. Where does the disconnect come in between all of that preparation and like good thought and intention and then not communicating it with the women in our life?
Yeah, it's man, I think that just comes to me right now is I think as men, we struggle to be in the present, you know, to be present in that moment and in that, because we are overthinking. We're thinking that the next move, you know, then, you know, it's funny you bring up driving, because we would be, my wife and I'd be like, okay, we need to go shopping today. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm in. You know, and she's like, okay, well, we need to go here, here, and here, and all stuff. And I'm like, awesome. Well, she would go like to TJ Maxx here, and then go over to here, and then come back over here to Cabela's. And I'm like, no. We start on this road, we drive down this road, we go to this store first, and then we go to this store, and we make this big loop. And by the time we're done, we loop and we come back to the house. And she's like, yeah, no. But what if I see something here, and then I want it over here? And I'm like, you know, our brains just process. I mean, it's the age-old question of, you know, we men and women are completely different, you know, but I think we as men need to learn to be present in the moment. Like you said, you're driving and your wife's, you know, your thought is, I got this meeting, I got to wake up in the morning, I got to do this, I got to do that, you know, where they're like, hey, look at that beautiful building over there, or look at those flowers growing. I wonder if that would look good in our garden. You know, can we just be present in that moment as men? And it's hard for me. I'm not even going to say men. I'll just take it upon myself. It's hard for me to shut off my brain, to do that, to not be in the present. I'm thinking about what are we going to do tomorrow? Where are we going? What's next week? Hey, we got a vacation coming. We got this. You know, I don't know how to always shut it off.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you struggle with it, but one thing that's tough for me is in that vein of like not shutting it off. It's like not only just logistical, tactical things that have to get done, but for me, it's a lot of ways that I could improve. And this is what him and I were talking about this morning. It's like, I think a lot of us that are self-reflective and we're trying to get better for our families and just, you know, as Christians, you know, we're always improving and it's always a mission to work on something. You know, I'm constantly looking at, well, where did I fall down this week? Like, okay, I was really good in business, but I didn't play as much with my kids, and I'm constantly like moving pieces around. That's like most of my thought every day is like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not, how do I want to say this? It's not bad pressure, but sometimes it can be, you know what I mean? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. You know, we're called to be the provider, you know, the priest, the prophet, the protector, you know, of our homes and our families. Well, think about that. Provider. I mean, we've got to provide finances, money, support, all of those things. We provide spiritual. We need to be the spiritual leader, the prophet, the priest of our home and all that stuff. The protector, protector over physicalness, financial, emotional. I mean, there's all of these things as men that, for me, not just men, I go through my head. How do I shelter my kids? How do I pray over my kids every day? How do I, my son has his birthday's today, literally his 17th birthday. So I'm making sure it literally at 12 o'clock, I'm texting him and I'm, sending him a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you. May he be gracious to you. And, and you read that whole thing out and I type it and I'm like, that's what I want for him that day. We're intentionally thinking about all of these different things. It's difficult at times because we want to be the best that we can be in all of those areas, and then my brain doesn't shut off for that. How do I provide? How do I protect? How do I make sure I have a financial future? You know what I mean? If I'm going to die in a car crash tomorrow, is my family, taken care of? What's there for them? How are they going to move on?
Yeah.
I don't think that ever shuts off for us,
Yeah,
And
I don't know that it does either. And it's like, where does it come into play where we, just turn it over to God and surrender some of that? And, where is it useful? It's like there's a balance there. I don't know what it is. I don't know that I have a good grip on it.
if I had that answer, I wouldn't be divorced.
We're on the quest for answers.
And we are on the quest, and we encourage, if you guys are listening to this, man, hey, write in, talk to us. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I think it's really, what does it look like to truly surrender our lives to Christ? What does that mean in all aspects? Like you said, how do we just be there in the present and in His presence? How can we bring His presence to our family? How can we bring that peace that surpasses all understanding? You know what I mean? To our children and to our wives in those moments of where we don't ever see peace. We don't see those things. And how do we bring peace when it's easy to bring peace? It's in all areas.
Yeah.
It's a difficult challenge. I understand women have a hard time too in life.
Oh,
but
sure.
I think men get a raw deal. We have to do all of these different things to please. You know what I mean? Where, man, I think we've lost really what the art of a relationship in a marriage or a relationship between two people look like. There's things I could speak into. I don't even know. It's not really relevant, but it comes to mind. And, we are meant to look, society wants men to look weak. You're seeing changes now where women are wanting a strong man, but before it was, I am woman, I am strong. I don't need you to provide for me. I don't need you. I can do this. I can open up my own car door. I can do all of this. Well, I'm watching the movement in social media of women are like, they're yelling at other women like, you screwed it up for us. You know what I mean? We can be sitting at home being these housewives and, taking care of our family and pouring Christ into our children and doing these things. But now we're working a job. We're single moms. We're doing all this stuff because you wanted all this independence. You wanted all this freedom. And, you got what you asked for. But is it really what you wanted? And it's just, my mind never shuts off. People joke like, I sleep 4 or 5 hours a day. That's it. Occasionally a 20-minute nap in the chair where I'm like, because you just need that rest. But it's I think we as men need to get back to understanding what that quiet time and it means to be still with the Lord. Be still and know that I am God. What does that really look like for us? Can we be still and surrender that time to Him, to be quiet, to be in prayer, to do those things? Can we shut off our mind? I'll tell you, I've had 2 strokes. And one of the greatest things that I learned through the process of rehabilitation from those strokes was to take 20-minute brain breaks. Every couple of hours I was taking these 20-minute brain breaks. Literally get into a closet, a dark room is what I needed to do, me personally. I'm not saying this is what you got to do, but I would get into a dark room and no phone, no light, no nothing, and just shut my mind off. And dude, it would take me sometimes 20 minutes to settle down. I mean, how do you shut off your mind?
Yeah.
That's a mastered art, to learn how to shut off your mind and be
Yeah.
present.
It is. And I think just like any art, you got to practice, right? You got to
100%.
take a chance. You got to show up sincerely. You got to give it effort and then recognize, okay, didn't work out so well that time. Let's show up again, show up again. And I think eventually you can do that. Like you can practice prayer, and you can practice quiet time with the Lord. And I think as men, we can practice modeling what healthy relationships look like. You talked about leadership. I heard you mention that in one of the pillars of our responsibilities. And that's something I've been learning a lot about recently is like, where am I showing up as a powerful leader and modeling Christ in my home to my family and my wife? And, when I think about it from that perspective, there's a lot of ways I fall short. And so it's like, you look at a challenge in your relationship and you go, okay, maybe it's, I'm just going to go to finance because that's what I know, right? It's like, okay, we got to make a change financially. Well, you got to step in there and lead that change. And it can be very difficult and uncomfortable to kind of, like we were talking about, die to yourself, kind of put your ego aside and say, okay, I got to show up and lead like this rather than it being a negative situation. And that takes a lot of emotional energy. Like it's hard to get that momentum going as a leader.
Well, you're fighting an internal battle that nobody sees,
right?
Because really, I mean, you said it. Okay, how do I show up as a good leader? Well, you show up as a servant.
Yeah.
Because that's what Christ modeled for us, right? Servanthood.
Yeah.
And we look at it as leader. How do I show up? I'm going to take charge. I'm going to do this. We do that. And it's like, no. Your wife wants you to serve her, and lead her within the love of Christ, and die to yourself. Well, man, that is brutally difficult for most men.
Yeah.
To be able to do that because you think you have this you have this responsibility, but you think it should be done one way. Like you said, how do I show up as a leader? And I'm here and I'm taking charge of my family.
Yeah.
I'm the king of the castle. I'm the lion, Yeah, no. How do I make my wife's day easier?
Yeah.
What can I do to lighten her load? How can I show her the love of Christ? What did Christ do? Washing of the feet, to show people he's not above anything.
Yeah.
He's here to serve us. And so for me, I've changed my perspective is I'm going to lead by example, and my ex, was so good at it. And she told me one day, we were sitting there and I just complained, the trash goes out every Tuesday night. Trash cans come in every Wednesday morning. It's not rocket science. You can put it on a calendar. It's going to happen. It's like Christmas. It comes every December 25th. Why are we so rushed to get gifts? We know it's coming next year on December 25th. So I would tell my kids, set a reminder in your phone that it's trash day, But I got so tired of yelling at them. She's like, well, why don't you just lead by example? And I'm like, that's a novel concept. So I just got out of the car. I went out and instead of going in the house, I walked over to the front yard. I grabbed the trash cans and we have like 3 or 4 because it's a big family. Yeah. So I grab one and I start wheeling it back. And all the kids that were in the house, they're looking through the window and they're watching Dad get the trash cans. And I can imagine what was in their mind. Oh, crap. We didn't get the trash can. They all come running out, and she was so wise. She goes, see, it just took you not being lazy once to get out there and show them what needs to be done. And now they'll do it every time the same way. And I'm like, I hate when you're so wise and right, But, we have to get out of our own way. and quit being lazy and quit procrastinating and quit doing those things and using even the overthinking as an excuse. Well, I haven't thought about it, or I haven't come up with a solution. Sometimes it's just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Go take the trash cans in. You know, when you come home, I know you're tired. I know you last thing you want to do is have two little bouncing girls just bounce off the hood of a Tesla, you know? You know? But you just, how do you show up to her? Do you come in there? Do you start making dinner? Do you start doing the dishes?
Yeah.
Do you take time to go over the kids' schoolwork? You know, what does that look like showing up for her and leading in that way? You know, and not just thinking all of this stuff that you've got to do, and I've got to get on this call, I got to be up in the morning with Kevin. You know what I mean? All this stuff. How can you just be present for them right then and there and not overthink those things? I don't know. I'm still working on it, man. I haven't mastered it, but I am better of not coming in with my phone in my hand, talking to somebody on the phone. I finish my phone call in the car, hang up, put my phone in my pocket, and walk in the door. You know, most of the time I was just, you know, walking in the door. Yeah, hey, hold on, kids. I got to talk. Let me finish this. I'll be in there in a second. Well, all they want to do is say hi.
Right.
You know, but they see dad on a phone. Finish the call in the car. Wrap it up. So when you come in, your hands are open to be receiving the love they want to give you, whether it's your wife or your children. You know, or if it's your dog and you're single, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So
I love what you said, and I think it really ties us in together nicely. It's like, you know, my friend and I were talking this morning about, you know, I wish they could see all the things that are in our mind and our heart. And I think it's a different mentality. You know, it's like you show up to lead, you show up as a servant. Now you're looking to give rather than to take. And I think that shift is so important for us to go from I feel empty to I have a full cup and I can give more. And when you're showing up that way, like Jesus, you know, you can have a lot more to pour into people and to be present and to have that emotional energy to lead properly. And I think you're right. It starts by looking at how we can serve. And that's really what we're trying to do from the beginning anyway. That's the intention. Right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're just going a whacked out crazy way of trying to think we can do it.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to do it within our own might and our own power, and we're not looking at the perfect example of how he did it.
Right.
You know, he showed up to serve. You know, some of the best things he did to teach us lessons was how he served us.
Yeah.
Take it to the cross. I mean, the brutal thing that he went through for us, serving us and dying for us.
Yeah.
Putting himself aside in everything. I mean, I don't even know. I lose my mind thinking about that. Having all of that power and all that might to smite everybody and zap them. And he just sits there and takes it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Not me.
No. I mean, I don't think anybody could. That's why he was
the only one that could do that.
Yeah.
You know, and so how can we model that in our families? How can you model that in your workplace? How can you show up at work the same way? How can you serve? You know, how can I make my boss look good instead of making myself look good to try and get my boss's position? You know, a true leader will watch his team and watch the ones that are serving the others and making their superiors look good, because that's the person I want. That's the person I want supporting me. Someone who's making their superior look good and doing what they can to make their job easier. That's a person that really understands giving back.
Yeah.
You know, that's who you want to promote. You know,
Amazing.
So.
Dude, I think we should pray for that. I think we should pray for encouragement and for men who are in that season of like, I need, my cup's not full, and they're reaching, and we can hopefully turn that around for them, fill their cups and help them pour into the people in their lives. That was really impactful for me today. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you want to close us out in some prayer?
Sure.
I appreciate it, man. This is my favorite way to start the day.
Let's do it. Father God, Lord, we just come to you. We thank you for this time that Daniel and I get together, Lord, just as friends, sharing with one another, Lord, but talking about tough things, hard things in life, Lord. What does it really mean to follow you? That's really the bottom line of it all, Lord. Follow you as a father, as a husband, as a single man, as a businessman, as an employee, as an employer, whatever it may be, Lord. The ultimate thing is, how do we follow in your footsteps? How do we learn to serve others around us, Lord? And it might not just be some drastic act that you go out and you're at a, kitchen this Thanksgiving and serving food. But Lord, that is a way to do it. That's a start to take some time to not be selfish, Lord, to serve others, Lord. So, Lord, I pray for those that are listening to us, Lord, that this hits them home, that they learn, Lord, what it truly means to follow in your footsteps, to serve one another, Lord, to show up in the ways that you've called us to do this, Lord. So help us to take that mindset instead of trying to run 50,000 circles of how to make it the best thing, this, there, over here, there, trying to figure out every little thing, Lord. How about we just show up and serve the way you served us, Lord, and to show Christ as simple as just being there. Lord, I thank you for these opportunities that we get to pray for one another, we get to share for another, with one another, Lord, and just bless our time together, Lord, and bless those that are listening to this. We ask these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Kevin, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. If you guys need prayer, if you have questions, if you want to share thoughts that you have, please feel free to connect, reach out, and we'll see you guys in the next one.